Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Drena Finds Out. This week we have CJ, the Cardigan banker, here with us to talk about ways for people who are already making their money stretch, how you can start tearing down some of that debt that you may have built up. I know that some people call it living check to check or robbing Peter to pay Paul. Whenever you're in those positions, it can sometimes be overwhelming to know that you still have this amount of debt plus the bills at home. So she's going to help us figure out ways that we can reduce some of that.
Thank you for having me, Drena. So excited to be back with you today and talking about a much needed topic like debt. Because at some point in your life, you're going to accrue some sort of debt, whether it's auto loan debt, mortgage, small loan to build something on your house or what have you, credit card debt, etc. So excited to talk about it with you today.
I'm glad you came back. In person this time.
Yes.
So we've been talking about money this year, and I know that people, you have a plan or a few tips for people to start working on that. So I know you said before that you got to start writing stuff down.
Yes, I mean, for me, I have this thing about applying SMART principles to your goals. And SMART is an acronym, but a lot of people don't know that SMART has like an acronym that's tied to it. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So basically, you know how people are real big on affirmations and they say, I will get out of debt in 2 years, or I'm going to pay my car off 5 years early. But they never really attach tangible key objectives that are going to get them there. So for me, I apply that SMART principle to everything I'm going to do. Like when I wake up in the morning, I say I will get the boys on, or say the day before, I'll say something like I will get the boys on school tomorrow by getting their clothes out early, by setting my alarm clock a few minutes early, etc., etc. So you definitely have to add some teeth when you're spouting out those affirmations and goals for yourself.
Putting a plan in place.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and it goes back to money. I feel like budget a few years back kind of became like a dirty word. Like nobody wanted to budget because it sounded so restrictive, so confining. So in the kind of financial coaching industry, we kind of shifted it and just said, you don't have to budget, but you do have to plan for how you're going to spend your money. So now you'll hear the term spending plan being used more so than you will budget.
Yeah, it sounds more attractive to me.
It does, right? Because you plan to go out Friday night, you plan to spend that money.
So where do you think people should start if they find themselves in that situation where it's already tough for them to pay their month-to-month bills, but now let's talk about the debt that I already had, have piled up over the years. What is like the first thing that they can do to start trying to alleviate some of that?
Right, so the first thing that I'm a big proponent of is utilizing a financial service. So whether it's a bank account, a credit union account, just some federally insured account to house your money. Because what that's going to give you is going to give you more safety and security over your money. So if your house were to burn down, you don't have to worry about that $500 that you tucked under your mattress. You know that if that bank goes under, that there's a federally insured agency that's going to get your money back to you. But also what that does is it's going to give you a record of your expenditures. And so month to month, you can pull up that and you can see all those minuses. And for me, that's one of the tools that typically I coach a little bit one-on-one now, but when I was literally a one-to-one coach some years back, that's the first thing I would do. Bring me your bank statement. And people look, like, so somebody would, it's funny, so the person would call me and they say, I'm ready, blah, 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 so bring me your bank statement. May not hear from. And I call them, listen, I'm ready, like, bring me your bank statement. They like, this was a crazy month. Okay, give it 2 months. Okay, now this month, my kids was out of school on spring break, and then you go for it. But this was back to school month, so now we into August. Then you get some people, well, I had family come in for Thanksgiving, so I had to spend. So every quarter, there was some kind of outlier month. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for making those ends meet, like you said earlier. So if you have to look at your budget over a quarter, a month, or whatever works for you, but you definitely have to start with, where did my money go last month?
So I think that kind of plays into having like discipline when it comes to when you think about stuff like that. Because I know, like even you saying you're not even asking me for mine, and I'm kind of like tensing up, like what am I
What
saying?
I got on there from yesterday? Yeah.
So I know that can help people like see where their money is going, and once you can see where it's going, then like what do you think? Then is that when you start to plan what you're gonna do with, or like to make the changes?
Yeah, so one of the things I do is, so if a person, let's just say January, so we're in the top of the year. So let's say you're looking at December's bank statement. Let's just use good round numbers. Let's say you spend $2,000 on all your bills, all of everything. So I said, okay, let me see your bank statement. I look at it, okay, say, where can we pull back? Typically a person is gonna say, I really don't really see, like I gotta kind of eat lunch every now and then. Yes, I can meal prep a little bit, but that's not gonna yield me that much money, okay? So what I'll give them then is a spending diary. And that spending diary is gonna capture all of those expenses for 7 days. So this is whether you go to the vending machine at work or whether you go to Walmart, is to have you write down everything that you're spending your money on. Because people tend to spend more money when what? Right after they got paid. And so you'll start to see certain trends that pop up within their month. And so from there, that's when we can say, okay, I see where you spent $50 this week on McDonald's alone. Do you think that was a little bit excessive, or do you think we can start to cut that in half? And then slowly but surely your habits start to change. So not only are you eating healthier, but you're also saving a little bit more money. And just over time, you start to pick up better spending habits.
So then once you get to, how hard is it for once you have people that can start saving, then they're like, well, now you want me to start putting it somewhere else? Like, why can't I hold on to the money?
It's just not safe. And for me too, so we're talking about debt today as a whole, but interest is money that you pay on money that you borrowed. But interest or dividends can also be money that's paid to you for having your money in the savings account. So there's definitely benefits to utilizing certain banking accounts as well.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, Cash App, PayPal, all of those accounts can be repositories for your money. But can you walk up to PayPal and make a withdrawal or deposit? Can you ask them for a loan if you need it? Do you even know anybody that works for PayPal, right? But you know your local bankers in and around town. So it's also about building that banking relationship.
Yeah. So once they get to the point where they're saving money, now they need to start looking at the debt, and then should they start with the biggest amount the biggest person they owe, or should they start, where should they start?
So there are two schools of thought around paying down debt. There's the debt avalanche method, which tells you to pay down the highest interest rate debt first. And then there's the snowball method that tells you to pay down the lowest balance first. Okay? But also I want to give a website. So powerpay.org, Power. Everybody know how to spell power now. It's a hit show. POWERPAY.org. That is a website that I've used, I know, for 20 years. And it's so simple. You create an account and basically you list your debts and you list the interest rates. And what it'll allow you to do is you can sort by lowest amount owed, highest interest rate, largest balance, whatever the case may be. And what you'll do at that point is say, okay, how much money do I have extra to attack this debt, right? Okay, Carmelita, CJ, Carmelita's my government name. Mm-hmm. So CJ taught me to, if I pull back from eating out, I can save $100 a month, but where do I want to apply it? And it'll help you figure out where you want to apply that $100. So then now once you're in that system, from there you can say, okay, I have $100 to apply towards my debt, but just how much am I willing to pay in interest? Because it's going to give you that big number. So a lot of people don't know, like when you purchase a car for $25,000, you're going to pay interest on that money. At the end of that 5 years, you may have paid $32,000 for that car, because there's an amount of money that you pay every month that goes towards the interest, which is how banks stay open to pay their employees. But for me, student loan, I know I'm going all over the place, but I got a point. So with student loans, a lot of people refinance their student loans over 30 years to get those payments as low as they can be. But that's not to say that you have to wait 30 years to pay that off. All you have to do is go in, put in a calculator, say, okay, I know I refinanced those student loans over 30 years, but I have extra that I can apply to those loans to pay them off sooner. So it's all about what you feel comfortable doing. Do you feel comfortable taking excess money? Do you feel comfortable selling clothes that you have? Do you feel comfortable applying, if you didn't lose your job, of course, applying your stimulus check or taking your IRS refund every year? How much do you want to get out of debt? Or are you okay paying a larger amount of interest over time?
Once they get a plan in place and they've already started saving and applying that money to where it needs to go, do they need to make a goal for like a certain time frame in order to have that stuff paid down, or like what do you think they need to do?
So for me, like I keep going back to these kind of two schools of thought, because there's a person who wants to eat out every other day, who wants to take trips, and who wants to continue to pay the bare minimum on their bills and apply that excess money to their lifestyle. But there's another person that just wants to get out of debt and as quick as they can, because they understand that, okay, if I can knock this out in 5 years, year 6 I can take a trip once a month opposed to once a quarter that I was doing before when I was, like I said, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So for me, it really depends on what type of person you are. But for me, oftentimes, I just get online. Like I said, I definitely have my fave websites. Bankrate.com is another one, BANKRATE.org. That's another one that you can go in and say, okay, I'm thinking about buying a house. What would a $100,000 mortgage cost me if that was, say, the net loan, if I had a A+ credit score and my rate was 2%? Or what will it be if my interest rate is 5%? And just play with it and figure out. I've had people to sit in front of me, and I've done that same exercise with an auto loan, and I've told them, okay, you're approved for an auto loan, but you're going to pay 10%. Meanwhile, our lowest rate is 3%. You're going to probably pay double for that car over 5 years instead of you going back and fixing out this collection or going back and disputing that item and trying to get your credit score up just a few points so you can pay that lower interest rate. So it really depends on lifestyle. For me, I don't teach against a certain type of lifestyle. I definitely teach a more I actually was thinking today, I was talking to a friend of mine over lunch, and I was saying I would need to figure out like what my tagline is about my processes or how I teach people, because I don't want to guilt people into feeling like, well, I ain't got a savings account, she think less of me, whatever the case may be. Some people just aren't going to be super savers. Some people are going to eat out, period. When I was single, no kids, I'm sure the grocery store probably never saw me. Maybe just milk, eggs, bread, but literally I probably ate out the majority. But in my brain, that was the same as a grocery bill. I wasn't at, I'm saying Drago's when you had Drago, but y'all know Drago. We close to the I wasn't at these fancy, I wasn't at these fancy restaurants. I was still trying to eat healthy, but I just wasn't blowing the bank on food either. So it's more of like a moderate lifestyle that I try to teach people.
I think that what you said is really important, because I think a lot of times people feel, one, I think you first have to know that if you grew up living around and seeing people live that way or handle money that way, I think that it takes for you to finally see other people not doing it to know that there may be an issue. But I also think that it's a lot of shame or like guilt that people feel before they actually reach out to somebody like you, or even go into their bank where they know somebody to try to get help. I think they feel like, oh, they're gonna judge me, when it's like, I don't even know you. Like, I'm just trying to help you.
That is so funny you say that, because everybody, if you get a pedicure, if you get your hair done, you're kind of exposing a certain part of yourself. And I've seen certain women be like, oh my goodness, like, I hate the way my feet look, but they'll get a pedicure. Hate the way your budget look, but go get help anyway, because at the end of the day, I don't remember anybody's budget that I looked at, though. Those 10 years ago is not something that we're holding on to then gossip about. Now, I will say this. That's why it goes back to having that banking relationship, because you have to build trust and rapport with people. I don't expect somebody my first time meeting them to let me look at their budget. Like, that's conversation 3, 4, 5. That's definitely not the first conversation I want to have with you to figure out what's your lifestyle. Do you travel a lot for work? Do you have kids? Do you work from home? Are you a nurse? You work 12-hour shifts? And so I'm learning you to figure out, okay, am I the right counselor for her? Am I the right coach for her to get her to her end goal? So it's a true relationship at the end of the day.
So at what point do you think people should start to seek help? Is it ever too early to start coming to somebody like you, like a planner, to help them work towards or figure out what they're trying to work towards?
Oh no, so I actually have a post on my IGs at CJ the Cardigan Baker. Y'all can follow me. But it talks about a GGG, Goal Getter Group. And I literally say accountant, attorney, like an estate attorney, investment banker, all those things. Learn those people early and where they are in your community. Because the earlier you find out about those people, that's just the stronger you're going to be later on. So in my brain, I didn't start thinking about retirement this year. I started thinking about retirement when I first got my job at 26. I was thinking, okay, who's the oldest person on this job? Okay, when they retire. And I would ask them because I went to school for journalism, so I'm just naturally inquisitive. So I would say, well, okay, so, how long have you worked in this industry? So you're thinking about retirement? Okay, so what does your retirement life look like? And they would say, oh, well, okay, I plan on getting, Social Security and this retirement, this annuity, and I got this trust fund. And so just hearing those things, it's like, okay, trust fund, look, Google, trust fund. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about trust fund. And so that's how I started to get more and more intrigued with it, because the people around us, they're not struggling the same way we are in the African American community. They're finding ways to either tax shelter, their businesses, and they're structuring things to where when their elders pass away, the Social Security office ain't coming around to confiscate that property or anything like that, because that property is in a trust.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just about gaining that knowledge. So it's never too early to get that knowledge base.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming to talk to me again. Of course, I'll be having you back because we're really just going to have to keep drilling into people, even into myself. I'm learning so much every time I talk to you. But I want to get to the point where I can help other people. But hopefully this will help a lot of people. And I try to follow all your platforms on Facebook.
Yes, you do.
CJ the Cardigan Maker on Instagram. Don't be afraid to ask her questions because she will respond back. And if you're ashamed, she can just send you a DM or whatever. But yeah, so I hope that we can help a lot of people.
Me too. And one of the mentalities that I try to use is each one teach one, each one reach one. So whatever I told you today, tell somebody else about it.
Right.
So for me, it's don't hold good information when you get it. Tell other people about it.
Because I want everybody to be great.
Right. That's me. I want everybody to win. We all on the same team.
Right. Well, thank you again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Drena, so much.
No problem.